pigskin braids, or try to do as many as possible. I brought 2.5 kilos of pig skins. Most of them I've already prepared. I left a few pieces which I still need to prepare, so you can see what I'm doing. What we need for this process is bits of string, which I pre-cut a couple, a pair of scissors, a sharp knife and a cutting board. I've brought a total of 2.5 kilos. Now the end product is roughly, I would at a guess say 1.5 kilos after cleaning them. Yep, that's roughly 1.5 kilos, so I was right. So from 2.5 kilos of pigskins from the butcher, I've got 1.5 kilos left. Now, as you can see, there's quite a lot of meat and fat still left on it. That's what I need to cut off before putting it on the dehydrator. So yeah, a cutting board, a pair of scissors, a sharp knife. I've always had a problem sharpening my knives until I sort of posted somewhere on Facebook. Someone brought one of these. It's an any sharp. It's just a small sharpener, but it works absolutely brilliantly, and I mean absolutely brilliantly. For someone that never been able to work a knife sharpener, this works without fail. Just pull it through, and that's it. So yeah, if you're looking for a knife sharpener and you're like me, you can't get on with getting any sharp. It's about £10 from eBay, so it's not too expensive, but it does actually work. Right, so other than the cutting board, the knife, the pair of scissors, the string and the pigskins, what you need is your dehydrator. If you haven't got a dehydrator, you can dehydrate in the oven, but your energy bill will go up massively, also depending on the oven you've got. Because pigskins are quite greasy, I always line the bottom tray. Now you can line with greaseproof paper, or what I've done is just use kitchen towel. Why do I line it? I've got a dehydrator with bottom fan, and even though it's got a drip well, if there's too much grease or any moisture piling up at the bottom, it can still run over the edge into your fan, which then can cause a short or worse. So rather safe than sorry. When I dehydrate things like pigskins, beef paws, which I showed a couple of days ago, I had some pretty greasy mince, so to avoid anything going into the drip well, I line it as well. That's basically it. So let's get started. I purposely saved 2 bits so I could show you what exactly I mean by cleaning the pigskins and why I need a sharp knife. That being said, I cut myself about 3 times today, so hopefully I won't cut myself tonight. This skin is actually quite good. It's really thin and you can pull it just like skinning a rabbit or a pheasant. It's got that really thin bit in between. So if you can get your knife underneath that, it's quite easy to do. And now you see why I cut myself earlier today, because I'm a clown with a knife. Again, I do not wear gloves. Why? For a starter, I'm partially sighted, so I use my hands an awful lot with things so I can feel what I'm doing. Also, because it's quite greasy, the gloves will make you slip and slide everywhere, which is a bit of a pain in the backside. If you are watching, feel free to use the chat. Stay nice, polite and friendly to each other. Unfortunately, I'm not able to read the chat because I haven't got a screen in front of me, so I can't reply. I wish I could. I'll figure something out for that one eventually, but as it stands, we'll have to do with what we got. Another reason why I pre-prepared the skins themselves, because this would take an awful long time to do. We'll be stood here all night. Right, that's one skin done, and that's what I just cut off. So as you can tell, it's quite a bit. Most of the skin I had was really clean, and I didn't need to do anything to it. I'll save this one for later, just in case someone else joins in later. Right, once you've got the skins prepared, you've got the majority of the fat off, you get your pair of scissors and you start cutting strips. Now, earlier I cut a hole in this one, and I'll tell you why. Every time I'm taking out most of the fat and I've got a bit of skin that has got nipples, like this one, wherever the nipple is, I tend to cut through the skin. Bit odd, I know, but it happens. I'm still using it. I'm not going to cut that bit off and not make a braid out of it. Don't cut your skin through and through, because otherwise you'll end up having to tie both top and bottom. What I do is I leave a bit on the top, makes it easier to braid as well. Now, why am I making braids? Why aren't I just doing strips? To be honest, it would make life too easy, wouldn't it, really? Now, in all fairness, I've seen pigskin braids in the shops, and you pay £3–4 for just a couple of braids. Now, if you've got a multi-dog household, it soon ends up being quite an expensive hobby. Now, I don't mind my dogs having a treat, but £3–4 for 2 or 3 braids, I'm sorry, but that's a bit OTT in my book. So instead, we're just doing arts and crafts with bits of meat. Or as my partner would say, arts and crafts with animal parts. Who would have thought? As you can see, it's quite easy to braid. That's that one done. Get a bit of string. tie the bottom, and that's the first one done. So it's not too bad. I never ever put any product on the bottom tray where I've got the kitchen towel or greaseproof paper. Why? Because that tray is the tray that needs to catch all the grease and moisture. So, and I don't want the product itself sticking to the paper either. So therefore, paper on the bottom tray, product on the one above. These I've already prepared. The shop I get my skins from is actually quite good. It's Big Europe in the town I live. It's a clean store. They get all their meats and everything in fresh. They've got their own little butchers. Most of the times I get equal size strips from them when I order pig skins from them, and there's not really that much fat on them. The fattiest part really is this. Now, I've bought some pig skin from Morrison's before and it's got more fat on it than this. So what I used to do was pre-boil it for like 5 minutes, let it cool down a bit, and scrape the fat off with a spoon. But with these, luckily I don't have to do it. If you just joined us, welcome. Tonight we're doing braids made from pig skins as treats for our puppies, who at the moment are watching me like a hawk. Now, for those who haven't watched my previous stream, if you're thinking of making your own dog treats and you want to invest in a dehydrator, there are loads and loads of different types of dehydrators on the market. When you are looking at doing large things like pig's ears, tracheas, that kind of thing, the best dehydrators to look for are ones that are square. There are loads of round ones which unfortunately you can't really fit an awful lot on due to the shape of them. So the best option for things like this is to get a square one. Also make sure that when you purchase a dehydrator it goes up to 70 degrees. Every type of meat, including fish, will have to be dehydrated on 70 degrees Celsius. Fruit, veg, herbs and spices all go on 50 degrees. Layla, only because other dogs are barking don't mean you have to. Now, I started this one earlier. This one's only been dehydrated for about 2 hours. Obviously it's not done yet, but I thought I'd just do one quickly to give you a quick idea on what it will look like. I will have some offcuts. Now, I do not throw the offcuts, I dehydrate them as well, so that'll make smaller treats, which will be nice for them as well. That way everything gets used, nothing gets wasted. So yeah, if you find a butcher that does pig skins, like the one I have found, you could probably ask them if they could supply you with semi-equally sized strips, just to make your life easier. Layla, only because Doggy's back outside. Now obviously you don't have to make braids, you can just cut pieces up and dehydrate them as is. I just like the idea of giving them something different to chew on at times. You can make pigskin rolls, which I've done before as well. But they're easier to do with chopsticks to keep together. Right, I'm going to give someone a telling off in a minute. There's a little dog barking at the back of us. So that's why she's having a moan. When I got a small piece that doesn't quite work to make a braid out of, I'll show you what I mean by making a roll. Again, welcome if you just joined us. Friday I brought 2.5 kilos of pigskins to make treats out of for me dogs, because most of the bits of skin I got are fairly even in size. I decided to make braids out of them. Now obviously if you haven't got the patience, or you just don't like the idea, you can just cut them up to the size you want to make the size treat you want, put them on the dehydrator and job done. Would be quicker, would be easier. And by cutting them up in different sizes, I mean, this is a bit of an offcut I've got. Not wasting it, still dehydrating it, makes a nice small treat. Dogs don't mind. But if you look in the shops like Pets at Home, you'll know that it will work out so much cheaper to make your own treats. I was actually shocked. I've been making my own treats for quite some time now, and I can't remember the last time I brought some pig ears, but when I looked online to make a comparison, I actually found that Pets at Home sells pig ears for £1.59 each. Now I buy raw pig ears for £3 a kilo. There's about 4 or 5 in a kilo. Add to that the running cost of the dehydrator, which is about 14p. It works out so much cheaper. rather than buy them in the store. Yes, it's a bit of work to get it all done, but it's so worth it. Layla, stop that. No, naughty. I love these bits of belly skin because they're really thin, so they will dehydrate really quick. And they're easier to clean up as well before dehydrating. Again, don't cut it through and through, because otherwise you'll end up having to tie two sides, which I don't think is necessary, and also leaving the top part. You can keep the braid straight. I've done it in the past where I've cut it through and through and it just curled up. I tried to do skin twists, but that didn't quite work out. Still haven't got the hang of that. Right, here I've got a piece I can't really make a braid out of, and I did promise to show you how to do a roll. It's quite easy, just roll it up. Now, personally, I wouldn't make it too thick. Cut it here. Put a toothpick through it so it stays together and put it on the dehydrator. I have tried twisting it, but as you can see, you can't really keep it together. Even with a toothpick, it just won't stay like that. So I gave up on that idea. I'll just cut this one in half. And just put it on like that. So yeah, skin twists, I haven't worked it out yet. I will do eventually. It's a bit like the rawhide twist, isn't it? Unfortunately, if you are in chat, I'm not able to read it because I haven't got a screen in front of me. I am thinking of getting a tablet eventually or something like that which I can put in front of me and read chat. If you have got any suggestions, ideas, questions, you can always pop me an email on admin@16paws.co.uk. If you like the idea of making your own treats and would like to see more streams on how to do it, feel free to follow us on Twitter or Instagram. You can always join a Facebook group as well, especially if you're interested in raw feeding. Then definitely welcome to join the Facebook group, which again, if you're watching the stream, all the links to Facebook, the website, Twitter, Instagram are on the bottom of the video. Who would have thought arts and crafts with animal parts? I certainly wouldn't have thought I'd be doing something like this a couple of years ago, let's put it that way. But trying to save some money, making me puppies happy, why not? And on to the next tray. Right, for those who just joined and didn't see my explanation earlier, as you can see I've got a big massive hole in this one. Now every time I clean the pig skins and I come across a nipple, which you can see is here, I tend to go through the skin. It's just one of them things, it happens. Now I can do two things. I can try and cut around, oops, it seems like I mixed a bit. I can try and cut around the nipple and still make a braid, or I can cut it in pieces and just do strips. Normally it just depends on where I've cut through it, to be honest with you. Sorry if I don't sound or look professional, it's only my second ever live stream, so still a bit nervous. But I'll get there eventually. It's all a learning curve for me. So again, if you've got any suggestions, tips, questions, feel free to put me an email on admin@16paws.co.uk and I'm more then happy to listen to criticism or give you advice. For those that don't have a dehydrator and aren't sure whether or not they should invest in one, you can always dehydrate in your oven to try out, though personally I would not use an oven if you're going to dehydrate regularly, because it really will up your energy bill. But as a one-off, just to try it out, see if it's something you could get into, you could do it in your oven. That is, if your oven goes down low enough. Any meat product, including fish, has to be dehydrated on 70 degrees Celsius. Leave the door of the oven ajar so any moisture can escape. Some products take longer to dehydrate than others. It just depends on the thickness and type of meat you use. Also, the reason why I've cut most of the fat off the pig skins is fat doesn't dehydrate, it'll only drip off. So the more you cut off, the drier it will be at the end. Because it takes an awful lot of time to dehydrate if it's got an awful lot of fat on the skins. So yeah, if you are doing pig skins, try and get as much of the fat off as possible. Now obviously there are certain cuts which do feel rather thick but aren't really that fatty. See if I can find one quickly. Eeny, meeny, miny, moe. That one. Now this looks rather thick compared to, where have I got a belly part? That's a belly part. This for example, this is like paper thin, but actually this is more greasy than what this is, believe it or not. Sounds weird, but it's true. The only way I can describe it is, I don't know if any one of you's ever watched programs where they do liposuction or things like that, and that's the only way I can think of describing it. But the bottom belly part where the nipples are actually looks like what they take out of a human body with when doing liposuction, and it's really greasy. As where a back part, which is what this is thicker, but it's not as greasy. So yeah, if you can take fat off, take as much off as feasible. Especially if you've got a bottom dehydrator like mine. Obviously, if you've got a dehydrator with back fan, which is something I'm saving up for, you don't have to worry as much. Another advantage of a dehydrator with back fan is that everything dehydrates more evenly, so no swapping trays or anything like that. As where with the one I've got, because the fan is at the bottom, it doesn't tend to dehydrate evenly over all the trays, so I find myself swapping trays in between time. Which in turn increases the time the dehydrator is on as well. So if you are thinking of getting a dehydrator and you can afford a dehydrator with back fan, I'd say go for it. I kind of regret not investing in a dehydrator with back fan straight away, but same token, I didn't really want to invest too much only for it to end up in the cupboard after a couple of weeks and not being used. So I decided to just go for a cheap one. Now, when I say cheap one, I mean cheap one. Mine was only £20 from eBay. So it definitely wasn't a waste of money. I definitely got my money's worth out of it. The only other thing is, if you get a dehydrator with back fan, try and get one with stainless steel trays, because plastic trays do deteriorate, and in my case it did deteriorate quickly. This one is a replacement. After the first 3-4 weeks of using it, a couple of my trays started to break and get brittle. So I contacted the seller and they sent out a complete replacement, which is really nice of them, and I really do appreciate. But as I said, if I'd known back then that I was going to use it that often, I would have invested in a dehydrator with back fan and stainless steel trays straight away. But obviously, no one knows everything in advance. Let the doggies back, Layla. This is another part I can't really make a braid of, so cut it in half, put it on the dehydrator as is. Layla, bear with. sorry about that. It's a dog barking somewhere, and she decides to react to it. Earlier on Facebook I was asked, do you sell any of the treats you make? Simple answer, no, I do not sell any of the treats I make. Why? Because of DEFRA. In fact, if you do make your own treats for your dogs, be it biscuits or other, DEFRA, in theory, even if you just give a couple of biscuits to your friend's dog or your parents' dog, or you're in training classes and someone forgot to bring treats with them and you give them a couple of treats, in theory, if DEFRA finds out, they can take you to court over it. So I don't want to risk it. I could ask for DEFRA approval, but to get DEFRA approved, there's so many rules and regs. In fact, if I was going to sell dehydrated treats, I would have to send a batch to DEFRA and would, a sample of a batch, and would only be able to, if approved, only be able to sell said batch 2 months later, because they keep hold of it for 2 months, do testing on it, etc, etc, before you get the all clear. It's just too much hassle, or it is for me. So no, I do not sell any of the treats for that reason. Don't particularly want DEFRA knocking my door. Besides, if you can make your own treats, it works out so much cheaper. As I explained earlier, for those that weren't here a couple of minutes, when I started, if you buy, for example, Piggy's Pets at Home, they charge £1.59 per ear, and that to me is an awful lot of money, especially seeing as I've got 4 dogs. As where I buy raw pig ears and pay roughly £3 per kilo. There's about 5, sometimes 6, depending on the size of the ear, per kilo. So that straight away is cheaper. The running cost of the dehydrator is about 14p. So that's not that much either. Add that all up together, and straight away you'll know it works out cheaper than buying them. So investing in a dehydrator at the end is definitely worth it. Add to that, if you have got a bit of spare time, at least you've got something to do. You know exactly what goes into your pet's treats as well, so you know you've got a fresh product. No chemicals, no nothing. So a healthy treat every time. I don't mind doing it, it's actually quite relaxing. It sounds stupid, it might sound weird, you might call me a freak, but it is actually quite relaxing. I suppose it's the same with every hobby, really. What's up, TT? What's up, Bubba? I just had an idea. If you were with me at the beginning, and you're still watching, you might remember me saying something about pigskin rolls. Now you can do the braids and roll them up as well, and turn them into a roll. So you've got a braid roll, which you then can put on the dehydrator. In my case it would be sideways, because otherwise I can't shut it. So instead of just rolling a bit of skin up, like I've done earlier, doing it like that and then poking a toothpick through it to hold it together, you can do something like that as well. This piece again is too small to make a braid out of, so that'll go on there like that straight away. I'm really lucky with my butcher, because when I buy pigskins they arrive roughly at equally sized strips, so all I have to do is clean them up a bit and put them on. That's where, when I used to get pigskins from Morrison's, I found that there was more fat on them, so I just ended up boiling them for like 5-10 minutes, let them cool down, and scrape the fat off with a spoon before even attempting to put them on the dehydrator. Because obviously with a bottom fan dehydrator you've got to be careful that no fat gets into the fan part. Hello, Blue. Hello, Smoke Dog. Welcome. Hope you're not getting too bored. Right, for those who just joined me and didn't see the intro, it's only my second live stream, so I'm definitely not a pro at this. I brought 2.5 kilos of pigskins from a local store. The majority I'd already cleaned before starting the live stream, but I did save 2 pieces to show in between how I clean them. Now, my eyesight isn't that good, so that's one of the reasons I'm not wearing gloves. I like to feel what I'm doing. Soon as I start wearing gloves, it's just like everything goes wrong. So yes, I do cut myself occasionally. I actually cut myself a couple of times a day. It does happen, but that can even happen with gloves on. So I never use gloves. I just like, instead of using my eyes, which I only got one, I've got to compensate somehow. So yeah, I don't use gloves, so I can feel what I'm doing. What you need is a sharp knife. And I mean the sharp knife. The sharper the knife, the less chances that you do cut yourself. I'm terrible at sharpening my knives. I could never, ever, ever work it out until somewhere on Facebook, in one of the Facebook groups, I saw someone post an any sharp knife sharpener. It's only a small knife sharpener. Comes in a small box like that. That's the sharpener itself. It's quite easy. Pop it on your worktop with the suction cup. Pull that down so it doesn't move, and you just pull your knife through. And that's the only ever knife sharpener that has worked for me. So if you're like me and for life nor money can sharpen any knives, I definitely recommend that. Without it, I would have ended up probably with no fingers whatsoever. So yeah, if you get a fat bit like I've got here, it's actually got a bit of meat attached to it still. Just cut as much off as you possibly can. And now you know how I cut myself as well earlier. As I said earlier as well, the type of fat on the belly of the pig kind of comes across, if you ever watched programs on how they do light perception and such, it's just looks like that kind of fat. So that's why I try to get as much off as possible as well, because it's really, really greasy. Right, so that's your skin done. Just cut it in strips. All I can say is don't cut it through and through, because otherwise you'll end up having to put strings on both sides, so top and bottom. So much easier if you do it like that. But yeah, 2.5 kilos of pig skin is what I brought. Total end amount after cleaning is roughly 1.5 kilos. So 1,000 grams worth of fat is what I've taken off. Now, I am a bit OTT with it, because the less fat, the quicker it is to dehydrate, because fat does not dehydrate. So these should make really nice, thin, crunchy braids. I've got my quality control laying here in the kitchen. Quality control is actually quite lazy today. We've got a Tia, we've got a Loki, and we've got a Layla. And I'm pretty sure that rascal is asleep on the settee. I ain't got anything, look. No, I ain't got anything, honest. So that's quality control. Oh, we have got a rascal. Are we going to say hello, rascal? Say hello. Right, so that's our quality control. Sorry, washing my hands, because they just lick my hands. I should do. Let's continue. Right, that's one I can't make a braid out of, or I could, but it wouldn't be worth it. So just cut in half and put it on the dehydrator like that. Dogs don't mind, and I don't like wasting anything, so why not make the most of it? And another one. If you've got any questions, suggestions, hints and tips after the stream, feel free to email me on admin@16paws.co.uk. If you think, oh, I want to learn more about making treats, I will be doing more live streams. In fact, I've done one on Friday where I've done beef minced paws. I'll be getting some pig ears soon, which I was supposed to be getting past Friday, but they weren't delivered. So I'll be showing you how to prepare pig ears for dehydrating. So if you like to see more videos like this, more live streams like this, follow me on Twitter or Instagram, and because I will be posting updates on there. If you're interested in raw feeding, feel free to have a look on my website or join the Facebook group. All links can be found underneath the video screen. If you're new to Twitch, there's buttons to the website, Twitter, Facebook group and Instagram on there. Someone's thinking with its tummy. Yeah, you are. Our baby is thinking with its tummy. Yeah, honest. If you're still watching, thank you ever so much. I hope you enjoyed the stream. If you just joined us, welcome. Welcome to an episode of Arts and Crafts with Animal Parts. Today we're making pigskin braids. If you're a Twitch user and you like to keep up to date, feel free to follow me, that way you get a notification. If you're not a Twitch user yet you still want to keep up to date about new live streams, feel free to follow me on Instagram or Twitter. If you're interested in raw feeding or just want some information on supplements, have a look on my website or join our Facebook group. Everyone is welcome. Also, if you have got any questions in regards to raw food in our Facebook group, it's definitely the place to be. Any question you can ask there and it will be answered. We've got moderators from America and the UK, so if one isn't online, their chance is someone else is. Also, even though I'm in the UK, the website and the information provided is not limited to the UK. For example, suppliers list. I've got suppliers list for Canada, America, New Zealand, Australia, the Netherlands, and I will be adding more suppliers lists in future. I should say near future. So yeah, definitely if you are interested in rural feeding, feel free to join us on Facebook and have a look through the website, which you can find the link underneath the video. Even though most of the skin strips are roughly the same size, not all of them are, so I can't use all of them to make braids, which you've noticed I've just put them on the dehydrator as they are. The dogs don't mind, as long as they get a treat, they're happy. Layla, shush. Shut it. No, leave it. That's Daddy moving about. Leave it. Sorry about that. If you're wondering what string I'm using, I'm just using a cheap post office string. Basically you can use any type of string. As soon as it's starting to stiffen up, I take the strings off and just let it continue as is. It's only to keep it together at the start. That string is a bit short. I would have thought I cut it long enough, but no. No such luck. So 2.5 kilos worth of skin, which I bought. I've got a total of 1.5 left. That is after I've taken all the fat, excessive fat off. Obviously I haven't taken all fat off. In fact, I've still got a bit here, which I'll just use the scissors for. The less fat that's left on, the quicker it will dehydrate, and the drier the product will be when it's done. And why have I decided to dehydrate my own treats? One, me dogs are raw fed. Because of the many allergies, where one kibble used to work for another, it didn't work for one, it wouldn't work for the other. After trying so many different brands and so many different types of kibble, I thought, well, we'll try raw, just as a last thing really, see how it goes. If it doesn't work, I don't know what we're going to do, because buying 4 different brands of food for 4 different dogs was just an expensive hobby. Well, it would have ended up being an expensive hobby. Since going on to raw, all the allergies have been under control. Due to this, I wanted to look for more natural treats for them as well, instead of the dog biscuits you buy from the shop. However, when looking for natural treats, they're so expensive in pet shops. So I was looking for an alternative, found a Facebook group, in fact, on someone on my friends list posted that she was dehydrating treats, so I started to get curious, started looking up more info about it, and decided to start dehydrating treats myself. That way I know exactly what's in me dog's treats. I know there's no additives, no chemicals. I know they get fresh product, and as you can tell, I don't add anything to it. It's just the skin and the dehydrator, and that's it. Same as when I done the beef mince paws. No additives, just the beef mince. So pure meat, nothing else. So they get a healthy snack. Which again helps them with their allergies. In fact, out of our 4 dogs, there's only one that hasn't got any allergies whatsoever. The other 3 do. So as long as my dogs are happy and they benefit from it, I'm more than willing to spend some extra time in the kitchen for them. And why not? We do it for our human children, we do it for ourselves, so why don't we do it for our pets? Or at least that's my opinion. Somehow the government wants us to eat healthier, but when it comes to our pet food, it's alright for them to eat the equivalent of a McDonald's every day. It just doesn't add up to me. And does it cost more in our case? No, it doesn't. It's actually turns out to be quite a bit cheaper. As I said, try and look for pigskin braids in the stores. See how much it costs there. I pay £1 for per kilo of skin. And as you can see, 2.5 kilos of pigskins actually makes a lot of treats. So I spent £2.5 and I've got what, 5 trays full. And to run the dehydrator is only 14p, so that's not going to break the bank either. So in my opinion, definitely worth it. Where do you buy a dehydrator? eBay, Amazon. Just shop around. It doesn't have to be expensive, but obviously if you can't afford it, I would recommend going for a dehydrator with a back fan and preferably stainless steel trays. I am saving up for one myself now because I'm kind of regretted just going for a cheap one. The only reason I went for a cheap one was because I weren't too sure, by which I mean I weren't sure whether or not I was actually going to use it. I've almost had this dehydrator for a year now and it's definitely been worth the money. I've made so many treats. So yeah, if you are thinking of investing in a dehydrator and you can afford it, splash out, get yourself one with a back fan and stainless steel trays. If not, do what I do. I paid £20 for the one I've got here. Yes, I had a bit of a struggle in the beginning because within the first 3 weeks 2 of the trays broke. I got in touch with the seller and he was kind enough to send me a complete replacement at no extra cost. So I basically got 2 units for the price of one, which for £20 I definitely cannot moan about it. Also, I would suggest, if you are going for one with plastic trays, get a square one and not a round one. You can fit, everything fits on a square one so much easier. Especially when you got big things like pig ears. I can't see them fitting on a round one, to be honest. quality control is still here. Well, 2 out of the 4. Four more and then I'm done for today. Now if you're not sure whether or not dehydrating your own treats is something for you, but you do want to try it out without investing in a dehydrator, you can always use your oven. That is, if your oven goes low enough, by which I mean 70 degrees Celsius. Every type of meat has got to be dehydrated on 70 degrees. This includes fish. So if you've got an oven that goes down to 70 degrees or lower, you can use your oven. Just leave your door ajar so all the steam can escape. That one is a bit too thin, or I should say not wide enough. Right, I think I'm going to have a bit of a crisis here. I'll just have to cut these in strips because otherwise I will not be able to fit them on my dehydrator. So now I've got to find space for that. I'm sorry I'm not doing the last two, but I'm running out of space. Desperately running out of space. Right, do it like that. So yeah, that's my dehydrator filled up. Everything done. And that's all the cut-offs, which can go in the bin. Even though I raw feed, them cut-offs are too fatty to feed to the dogs, so I'm not even going to attempt that. They'll only get the runs, so, and we don't want that now, do we? So yeah, when your dehydrator is full, just set it to 70 degrees. I always set the dehydrator to 24 hours. If it needs longer, obviously I'll let more time. If it's done, I'll just switch it off, but I always put it on 24 hours as standard. I'll just let that one go in. I'll check in between time. Because I've got a bottom fan dehydrator, I'll be switching the trays over in between time, so what's at the bottom now will go on the top later, and so on. I hope you enjoyed watching. I'll definitely be back doing another live stream once I've got my pig ears. hope to see you next time. If you've got any questions, pop me an email on admin@16paws.co.uk. Want to watch more of our my live streams? Follow me on Twitter or Instagram. Want to know more about raw feeding? Feel free to join the Facebook group or have a look on the website. All the links are at the bottom of the video screen. Thank you for watching and see you next time.